Welcome to Running Hot, Action Network's motorsports betting podcast. I'm your host, Nick Giffen, predictive analyst here at Action Network. And joining me, my co-host, Stephen Young of RotoGrinders, better known as Stevie TPFL. And this week, we're talking bets for the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville Speedway here on Running Hot. Last weekend at Homestead, Tyler Reddick took the win, passing both Denny Hamlin on the low side in turns 1 and 2 and Ryan Blaney on the high side in turns 3 and 4 to take the win, lock himself in to the championship 4 along with Joey Logano. So Blaney did end up finishing second. Denny Hamlin finished third. So Stevie, that puts two guys locked into the Final Four. Obviously, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick. And then we have an interesting playoff scenario where Christopher Bell is good right now on playoff points. He's 29 points ahead of Kyle Larson. Then William Byron is 7 points ahead of Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson 7 points out of the playoff picture behind William Byron. Then it drops down another 11 points to Denny Hamlin, another 20 points to Ryan Blaney, and then another 5 there from Chase Elliott. So we're definitely in a scenario for Elliott, Blaney for sure, where they need to win to get in this weekend at Martinsville. But Stevie, what do you think of Homestead?
I mean, I sound like a broken horse. Listen, Homestead's awesome. Like, why is the championship not there? We talk about Kansas all the time, and Kansas is fantastic, but Homestead just all three races. I mean, every race at Homestead is phenomenal, and I mean, it's the right combination of tire wear, steepness, and drivability, and we see awesome races here every time. Like, we saw new tires at the end of that race. We saw an incredible call by Tyler Reddick's crew chief to give him an opportunity to be in the position that he was in. I mean, they knew they had to win the race. They made a call. He had a fast race car, and they took the chance because they were going to finish 3rd to 5th if they did the same strategies as everybody else. He drove it in there as hard as you could drive a race car into a turn, and it stuck, and he won the race. Do I think Blaney choked a little bit? Yeah. Do I think Tyler Reddick made an incredible pass? Yeah. Am I faulting Blaney? No. I think Blaney had to pick a line there. I think Blaney needed to go low or run the high line. I think the middle was the wrong decision, and he'll probably beat himself up for that one if he doesn't have a good weekend at Martinsville and move on. But, awesome racing at Homestead. It was incredible. I'm really happy for Tyler Reddick. I like all three of those guys, so I would have been happy for any of those three guys, but I think it's really cool for Tyler Reddick. I think it's really good for the sport, like Michael Jordan being so invested in the sport. Like, that just helps, like, the mainstream part of the sport. But as far as, like, the playoff standings, I don't think anyone's going to Martinsville thinking they're safe. I mean, even Christopher Bell at plus 29, I don't feel like he's thinking he's safe because any of the 6 drivers that are not locked in can win at Martinsville. So, going to be an incredible race if the track and tire kind of holds up a little bit.
Absolutely. And to your point about Homestead, I mean, just what a fantastic race. I wish it was the championship race. Can you imagine if that was for the championship right there? The championship decider. That would be incredible racing. Hopefully NASCAR makes a decision to go back there for the championship in the future after we get through our run of Phoenix races for the championship, because, I mean, that's just absolutely incredible racing. I'm with you. I think Blaney choked just a little bit. He probably mirror drove a little bit and then kind of caused him to be a little indecisive and maybe also just miss his throttle and, release and get back on the throttle points, things like that. He just seemed really slow in turns 3 and 4. But that caused Tyler Reddick to win. He's locked in as we head to Martinsville. So we are going to Martinsville Speedway this weekend. Martinsville, a half-mile track, flat track, paperclip shape, an action track for sure. Although in the next gen era, it's been a little hit or miss. That both of the, all of the spring races have been pretty rough, but the 2 playoff races have actually been pretty good. So, like you said, they're bringing a new tire this weekend to Martinsville, a new combination of tires, I should say, which is supposed to help fall off more, which hopefully will make some racing better. But just in general, Stevie, talk about racing at Martinsville.
I like Martinsville, and this is not a dig at Martinsville. It's a dig at the next-gen car on this type of racetrack. I mean, I hope the tire helps, but these cars are just so close in setups and how like we'll see qualifying and it'll be so tight that it's not going to make a huge difference, and that's with nobody else on the track. So
Yeah.
everything I'm going to say is next gen car. We have some stuff to figure out, whether it be more horsepower or what. I hope the tire works. It's the softer tire that we saw at Richmond that definitely showed a difference between the two tires. The fall off was there. It wasn't as much as we had hoped when we were talking about the option tire and all that stuff. They did a test here. They were obviously happy enough with the test. And you had Kyle Busch at the test, and he's going to be very critical. So I'm excited to see what happens. I hope it's a good race. I think that there's going to be a lot of excitement in this race because, like you said, the playoff standings are so close. We have Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott below the cutoff line. Three of those are huge fan favorites. And then you got Denny Hamlin, who's like the heel, but he's awesome for the sport. So I think that, a lot of excitement. I hope the racing's great. And we'll see what kind of happens with this tire. We really don't know what to expect. We got to see a little bit of it at Richmond and the All-Star race. But they made more tweaks to the left side tire too. So a lot of question marks coming into Martinsville this weekend.
Really, there are. And you mentioned it, those four guys below the cutoff line kind of need to win to get in. And guess what, Stevie? All six of these drivers that are not locked in have won at Martinsville. And all of them have done so since 2020. So, they all are relatively recent winners at Martinsville. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic playoff race to watch, just the playoff scenario, all of that stuff. And of course, there's guys outside the playoff picture that can win as well. But when we are handicapping Martinsville, it's such a unique track. How do you go about handicapping? Do you use just Martinsville? Do you use other tracks, for example?
Yeah, I think the data is tough this week, and I know you liked a lot of data just like I do, and I think it's tough because, we typically would comp Martinsville to like Richmond and Phoenix and potentially Iowa, but I think with the new tire and everything, like I'm going to probably weigh practice more than I typically do, and I'm probably going to end up weighing Martinsville like recent history more than I usually do, and not weighing Phoenix and Richmond as much, maybe Richmond 2 more than anything else because we did have the option tire there.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really interesting week as far as like coming in onto this show because I think a lot of the edge this week in the Cup Series is going to be post practice. Like who is that guy that can make that 40, 50 lap run in practice that really has the best fall off to give themselves a chance. A lot of my betting is going to be done post-qualifying this week, which is kind of opposite of how I typically approach races. I usually make 75% of my bets early in the week, but I think this is a week I'm going to be a lot more patient when it comes to NASCAR Cup betting.
Well, we still have to give our pre-qualifying picks out, so let's do that for Martinsville. As always, we're going to take you for a lap around the track, 4 turns, 1 pick from Stevie, 1 pick from me in each turn. Before we drive in victory lane, so we're going to wave the green flag on the Xfinity 500 and dive into turn 1. All right, turn 1, Stevie, you're going a little wild here in turn 1. I love it. It's Martinsville. We got to have some fun.
Yeah, see, this one, the line suggests that it's wild, but this is one of the ones that I actually see a lot of value, and my model sees value in this one, and it's Todd Gillen for a top 10 at plus 550. I only bet a quarter of a unit on this because it is Todd Gillen. He only has 1 top 10 here in 5 races with the next-gen car, but he's finished 14th and 13th, and he did the tire test here. I think that's a huge advantage. They're using the exact tire that was at the tire test, so I think it's a bump to Bubba Wallace, and it's a bump to Kyle Busch. Todd Gillen, and when he was in the Truck Series, was always good at these like shorter, flatter tracks. There was multiple times at like Gateway where he ran really well. Martinsville, he ran really well. And the fact that like he's coming in with a whole day of testing and probably 500 plus laps, I think is a huge advantage on a track that's actually by average one of his best tracks. So really like Todd Gillen. I think this number is just way off for his ability. And they're not racing for anything besides, potentially trying to get a win or something. So maybe they could be a little bit different and aggressive on strategy, which gives him higher odds or lower odds for a top 10. But at plus 550, I think this is worth taking a shot on this week.
You got me. You got me. I'm in. Yeah, you mentioned it in 5 races at Martinsville. A 13th place finish, a 10th place finish, a 13th where he crossed the line, 14th. Brad Keselowski ahead of him got disqualified. And then 2 poorer finishes. One of them was his very first race at Martinsville as a rookie, right? And then a 25th place finish. So 3 out of 5 times he's been on the cusp of a top 10 or in the top 10. That's pretty good for a plus 550 number there. I like this a lot, so I will be tailing you on this one. For my turn 1 pick, Stevie, I'm not betting on Martinsville. I'm betting on the championship, and I'm going to take Christopher Bell to win the championship plus 340. You and I were both high on Toyota, on JGR to win the championship preseason, and I'm just doing some math here, right? What is the probability that Christopher Bell makes it to Phoenix? Let's say it's 80%, because I think that's probably a pretty fair number. Then what's the probability he, of the 4 cars, is the best of the 4 cars at Phoenix? I would say, well, if it's 25% for all of them, I think Christopher Bell's probably the best one. Let's say 30%, right? So if you just do the math, 80% times 30%, then you get plus 315 as fair value. He's plus 340 for the championship, and I think I'm being conservative on those numbers. So it's just a straight math equation, Stevie. Christopher Bell to win the championship plus 340.
Yeah, I like this. He's one of my favorites. Obviously, I bet him to make the Final Four preseason, bet Joe Gibbs to win the championship, and I think he's their best chance. And I mean, I have a bet for Toyota to win the championship, so I'd love to see Bell get in there. For my betting purposes, I'd love to see Hamlin win this weekend. Bell get in on points and have 3 Toyotas at plus 185 to win the championship. So, yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for Toyota, so I'm obviously rooting for Bell. I can't make this bet in Florida because the line is I think it was 280 the last time I checked. And I have a bet for Bell to make the championship 4 at plus 210. So if I hit my plus 210, it makes no sense for me to bet him to win the championship at plus 280. So I like Bell. I'm rooting for Bell. I like this bet. I wish that I could get it at the same number as you, but I'm obviously rooting for him in the interest of I have a preseason bet on him to make the Final Four.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think my plus 315 estimate is even a little conservative there. But, plus 340, that's a long way to go from plus 315 anyway. So I like that. So Stevie's turn 1 pick, Todd Gilliland, top 10 plus 550 quarter unit. I'm taking Christopher Bell to win the championship as my turn 1 pick at plus 340. That means we're through turn 1. Quick turn into turn 2. All right, turn to Stevie. It's the Bowman turn. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that you were on Bowman too, and I like this group bet that I saw. It's a Group D, Group 4 on some sites. It's Brad Keselowski, it's Ross Chastain, it's Alex Bowman, it's Kyle Busch, and it's Alex Bowman is my bet to win this at plus 260. I like Bowman. I'm with you on what your bet is as well. I think that you look at the history for Alex Bowman at Martinsville, and it's solid enough where these numbers kind of seem a little off. I am a little concerned about him beating Brad Keselowski, but I mean, that's baked into the odds at plus 260. And Keselowski with the next gen car has finished 17th or worse in 4 or 5 races here. The race that he didn't, he finished 4th. If the tire wear is a thing, you're obviously worried about Keselowski, but Bowman's good at high tire wear racetracks as well. So I like Alex Bowman to win this group. Ross Chastain had the Hail Malin pass here a few years ago or a couple years ago. But outside of that, I mean, he's finished outside the top 10 in 3 straight races here. Martinsville's not his best track. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is just one of those ones where I'm kind of taking a head-to-head with Bowman and Keselowski. Kyle Busch is the other one that, he did do the test here. But, man, this has not been a good racetrack for him. I'm guessing he did the test more of, I need laps here because he's finished 16th or worse in 4 straight. So, yeah, I mean, I like Bowman to beat these guys. I think Hendrick's going to have speed, and I think Alex Bowman still needs to prove himself after everything that happened, and he is definitely on the hot seat after 2025.
Yeah, he'll be on the hot seat next year. It is a bummer for him. He didn't make the round of 8 because he deserved it. Unfortunately, right, there was a problem with his car, which wasn't his fault. but he should be a round of 8 driver right now, which interestingly enough would have kept Joey Logano out of it, and now Joey Logano's in the championship 4. So just a weird turn of events there. But my turn to pick Alex Bowman top 10 finish. Looks like plus 180 is the best number out there at this point. I got it at plus 200 a little bit earlier in the week, but I'll track it at plus 180 since it's plus 180 now as we're giving it out on the podcast. Look, here are Alex Bowman's Martinsville finishes since 2020. 6th, DNF, win, 12th, 11th, DNF, and 8th. So he's either finished 12th or better, including a win, or he's DNF'd, right? So if you're always finishing 12th or better in your non-DNF races, you're at least a coin flip for a top 10 finish on all of those scenarios. So we're getting plus 180. That's just way too long for Alex Bowman, top 10 finish. You mentioned all the stuff you said. Hendrick's strong at Martinsville. I mean, Kyle Larson's strong here. Chase Elliott's strong here. William Byron's strong here. Alex Bowman's strong here. I mean, he has a win at Martinsville, for crying out loud. On speed, he was the best car in that Martinsville race for the latter portion of that race. I remember betting him 40-1 live in that race, and he was the winner, past Denny Hamlin. He didn't need to wreck Denny Hamlin. He could have passed him cleanly, but he wrecked him anyway. Give maybe a little shove there to Denny Hamlin. But Alex Bowman, top 10 finish, plus 180. So those are our turn 2 picks. Alex Bowman turn, Group D winner for Stevie versus Brad Keselowski, Ross Chastain, and Kyle Busch, plus 260. And I'm on his top 10, plus 180. So there's 2 turns down, 2 turns to go. We'll go down that little back stretch and dive into turn 3. Turn 3, Stevie. Chase Briscoe's your bet. What you got for him here?
Yeah, I have Chase Briscoe for a top 10 at plus 120. Absolutely love this. He has been incredible at Martinsville with the next-gen car. He's finished top 10 in all 5 races here. Only Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney have been able to do the same thing. And it's with speed. It's not like Chase Briscoe is just kind of lucking into these finishes. You look at it, he's averaging 26.8 fastest laps over that 5-race span, which is the 4th most behind like Blaney and Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott. So it's just raw speed for Briscoe. He ranks 5th in speed in those 5 races. Getting him at plus odds, this is a bet that I had circled that I wanted to look at as soon as the lines opened up. I was able to get it a little bit better, but like you said, right now, with the current number at plus 120, it's moving fast. So this is one that I would definitely jump on as soon as you listen to this episode, because, a lot of places it's minus 105 already. So Chase Briscoe, excellent at this racetrack, really good at qualifying here, and that's huge. Track position is massive. He started inside the top 5 in 4 straight races here, so really like Chase Briscoe. He's gotten something figured out at Martinsville, and I think this is a great way for him to kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily finish out his time at Stewart-Haas, but this is probably the best chance he has to send off with a top 5.
Yeah, I think so. Chase Briscoe's really good at Martinsville. He's always been running near the front. He's had some chances to win. There's also a track position track, and he started up front quite a handful of times, which really helps as well. So I like this bet. Chase Briscoe, top 10 plus 120. For my turn 3 pick, I'm going to take Christopher Bell to win the race 13-1. I got him 16-1 when lines dropped here in Nevada at the Westgate Superbook. But hey, I'll take 13-1 if that's the best you can get, because my model has him above that. Christopher Bell, like I mentioned, as all the drivers that aren't locked in, of the 6 remaining playoff drivers that aren't locked in, they've all won, and that includes Christopher Bell here. He won at Martinsville back in 2022, the first year of the next-gen era, to get his way into the championship race at Phoenix. He doesn't need to win here, so there could be a little bit of being conservative, but at the same time, there could always be a scenario where, another driver like Denny Hamlin or somebody is on the cusp of winning, and maybe Bell is had a bad day or something. That wouldn't be good. So he's going to do everything he can to stay out front. That is the best place to be, is out front. I know we usually talk about that at super speedway races, but at Martinsville, the best place to be also is out front. You don't want to be in traffic too much, and there will be traffic at Martinsville, don't get me wrong, but as the leader, usually when you're lapping drivers, they'll tend to cut you a break after the first time you lap them, maybe the second or the third time you lap them. But at the same time, it's Christopher Bell. It's a short, flat track. He's got wins at New Hampshire twice, which is, a pretty decent Martinsville comp just because they're both kind of the true ovally type, the 180-degree turns in the corners and really flat. So I like Christopher Bell to win at this price. It's 13-1. I think I could play this down to 12-1.
Yeah, he won here, 2022. So obviously he's very capable of winning here. My biggest concern with Bell this weekend is just how bad he's been at qualifying at Martinsville. He's raced really well. He's had a lot of speed, a lot of fastest laps here. Speed-wise, he's been great. He just hasn't qualified well here. So I hope that as good as he is at qualifying everywhere, I hope they can kind of figure something out for qualifying. I mean, if I'm Christopher Bell and I'm Adam Stevens, I'm definitely focusing a little bit on going out and trying to make a hot lap at some point, because he needs a good qualifying effort, because the speed is there. The opportunity is there. So, I like making this bet pre-qualifying because if he does figure something out qualifying, he's going to be hard to pass. He's really good. I don't hate this at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So turn 3, Chase Briscoe, top 10 plus 120 for Stevie. Christopher Bell to win, 13-1. For me, 3 turns down. That means we have just the final turn, and that's turn 4. All right, last turn, Stevie. You're going back to Chase Briscoe. Well, what you got here?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Chase Briscoe for the top 4 at plus 575 for a quarter unit. Again, I like Briscoe a lot. We talked about it. All the stats on the top 10 market. He's just been consistently good here. He's facing Logano and Blaney this weekend. I feel like Logano is going to use Martinsville to test for Phoenix. What can they do? What is going to happen? So I'm kind of down on Logano overall this weekend, and I could just be way wrong because he's really good at Martinsville and he could go out and try to win, and but I just don't think that's going to be the case. You think of Paul Wolfe and how much strategy he plays. I feel like this is a 500-mile test for Joey Logano to what can we benefit, heading into next weekend, because Martinsville doesn't matter for him and he wants his teammate to win. So Blaney's really good here. He's been excellent here. I think the biggest one to beat for Briscoe would be Blaney. And I want to bet Blaney. I might just bet one outright this weekend, and it might be just Ryan Blaney. I hate that idea though, because it's not what I typically do. So I'm kind of betting against Blaney and a little bit of hedge here. I think it's Briscoe versus Blaney. Briscoe's been very consistent, and I think Blaney is going to be pushing it. He has to win the race to get in. He's minus 38. No points is going to matter. You can't make up that many at Martinsville. So I think unless 5-car accident happens with all the guys in front of him, the only way Blaney is going to get in this weekend is a win. So I think he's going to try some stuff, and I think that opens the door for Briscoe to be the top 4 at plus 575.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, high variance Blaney situation is huge here. And Joey Logano's good here. Brad Keselowski's good here, but so is Chase Briscoe. He's right up there with those guys as far as being the best Ford at Martinsville in the next gen era. And then you just take away, like I said, you take away any little bit of potential for Blaney because of just some downside with a high risk scenario. And that plays right into Chase Briscoe's hands. So top forward for Stevie, plus 575 for Chase Briscoe. My turn 4 pick, Stevie, funsy bet. It's not like a bet I'm saying go crazy on. I don't even know if I love it, but I want to bet it before I see it happen. I don't want to wait until it happens, because at some point, Shane Van Gisbergen is going to get a top 10 at Martinsville. I'm taking Shane Van Gisbergen 20-1 for a top 10 finish. And you know where I'm going with this angle, right?
Oh yeah.
You know who's
100%.
good at Martinsville. AJ Allmendinger, road course racer. Marcus Ambrose, road course racer. Juan Montoya, road course racer. Jamie McMurray, a lot of good road course racing, was always really good at Martinsville. Road course racers are very good at Martinsville. It has a lot of road course characteristics with the breaking into the turns and things like that. So I'm going to take Shane Van Gisbergen, a little flyer here at 20-1. You can get that at BetMGM. And it's another one. This is a weird one where he's 20-1 for a top 10 finish at BetMGM. But then if you scroll across the odds boards, right, if you go to actionnetwork.com/NASCAR, just look at our odds center here, 6-1 is 6.5-1 is what we're seeing everywhere else for this top 10 finish. So grab 20-1 if you want it. at BetMGM. I don't have any other extra analysis than that, right? I don't know how good Shane Van Gisbergen is or is not going to be in a next-gen car at Martinsville. What I do know is I know the history of road course racers at Martinsville is pretty darn solid. Now, we did see him run Martinsville in the Xfinity Series. He had an 11th place finish, which wasn't a top 10, but right on the borderline there, one of his better oval finishes of the season, especially non-drafting oval finishes of the season in the Xfinity Series. So, he does have some Martinsville experience in the Xfinity Series, which I think will help him here this weekend for Cup.
I mean, I love it. I love funsy bets. You know that. I love funsy bets more than most. And I think this is a great funsy bet because, like you said, road course racers do well at Martinsville. You break a lot. You have to run flat. And, I mean, that's basically road course racing. So I worry about the 16 car more than I worry about SVG. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Worry about the issue is more the car, but it's something I want to bet now because, again, if we see practice and qualifying and he's even halfway good, that number's coming down. You're not getting So take the 20-1 before practice and qualifying. So we have completed a nice quick lap at Martinsville Speedway. That means there's only one thing left to do. Drive into victory lane. Stevie, we both had this in the outline. I had it in turn 3. You put it in turn 1. You didn't even see it. So we decided, hey, instead of giving it out twice, let's put it in victory lane. What do we got for victory lane?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite bet of the weekend. It's Bubba Wallace for a top 10 at plus 140. My model's showing this as the best value on the entire race heading into the weekend. I mean, Bubba is really good at Martinsville. He has 3 top 10 finishes in the last 5 races here with the next-gen car. He finished 11th and 16th in the 2 races, so he has one of the better average running positions. He's really good here. I mean, he ranks 8th in speed over the 5 next-gen races. And the dude got to do the test. Everything points to Bubba being really strong this weekend. I for a few minutes thought about betting his outright. I mean, that's how much I like Bubba Wallace this weekend. I'm glad that you had this too. I didn't see it. That was on me. But hey, we didn't have a victory lane thought yet, so it all worked out. It's great when victory lane is naturally done by us having the same pick in the sheet, and we're both on this one. This was one of the first bets I made this week, so absolutely love Bubba Wallace for a top 10 this week.
Yeah, I think this was my second favorite bet. The Bowman one at 2-1 was my favorite, but now it's plus 180. So now I think this one's a little bit more my favorite. You can get it plus 140 for Bubba Wallace top 10 finish. Kind of like the Bowman analysis, right? Where I was saying since 2020, Alex Bowman's either finished 12th or better. And outside of his DNF races at Martinsville in the last handful of years, it's the same thing with Bubba Wallace, right? 4th, 11th, 9th, 8th in his last 4 Martinsville races. So he's figured it out in the next gen car. Bubba Wallace top 10 finish is our victory lane pick. And that'll do it for us. Thank you for listening to the Verizon 500 episode of Running Hot, Action Network's motorsports betting podcast. We'll be back next week as we talk bets for the NASCAR Cup Series Championship race at Phoenix Raceway, the last race of the year, the one where we crown a champion, and a race that often throws a lot of hidden value because of the scenarios. So make sure you tune in for that one. On behalf of my co-host, Stephen Young, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you back here next week on Running Hot from Action Network.